everyone. My name is Ellie. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Hey,
Ellie.
Ellie.
Hey,
Ellie.
I'm grateful to be here and to be sober today. I'm in Oakland, California, and part of the East Bay Young People in AA group. I currently serve as their H&I liaison for Alameda County. So I bring a meeting to Fremont Hospital once a month to their adolescent ward, and that's been a very rewarding and crazy thing to do. They let me in and they let me out at the end of the meeting, which is amazing. I've been sober since March 5th, 2017. My first AA meeting was March 4th, 2017, and I did not think it was going to help me get sober. There was just no way. I couldn't stop drinking. How could something else help me? How could something outside of me help me if I'm totally hopeless? That was my thinking going into it. And I was pretty much a maintenance blackout drinker. That's what I like to call myself. I drank till I blacked out or threw up every day, or every night at least. I did the morning drink on the weekends, but at the end of my drinking, it was mostly at night after work. Although, you know, I couldn't walk into my house sober. That was the thing that I don't know. I just couldn't do it. And I was full of dread and that feeling of horror that the big book talks about, like this feeling like at all times something terrible was going to happen to me. And at the same time, no one really knew how much I was drinking. I drank mostly alone and like I was super isolated, and and it wasn't always like that. So it's funny, I saw Molly somewhere in here is in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I used to live there. I lived there for a year teaching English, and knew some people there who were alcoholics. There was a meeting on the ground floor of my apartment building. This was like a year and a half, 2 years before I got sober, and I never walked into that meeting room. I walked right past it to go to the convenience store across the hall where I bought my beer and sometimes the like shitty whiskey that they sell there. And I just thought, like, yeah, sometimes I drink too much. I almost always lose control when I drink. I cannot control the quantity that I consume when I start drinking alcohol. But I truly, like, till I was a month sober, I thought that was how alcohol worked. Like, I thought everyone had that experience. And I thought blacking out was normal. Like, I just thought the difference between me and other people was that I got in more trouble when I drank. Like, I got in fights, I got kicked out of places. I, would like shoplift drunk. I also shoplifted sober, but, it was scarier when I was drunk because it's like, a little more out of control. But so I just thought like that's how alcohol worked. And it wasn't until I tried to stop drinking after I came back to the US. Like, I just tried to like go home instead of going to the liquor store. And my feet went to the liquor store, and it was I remember it was raining and it was terrifying. It was really scary. I was really like powerless over this thing that, like, I was like not only powerless over alcohol when I was drinking, but I was powerless to over alcohol before I even started drinking it. Like, I couldn't not drink. And that was when I decided to check out a meeting in Berkeley. I had some friends who had gotten sober through AA, or like friends of friends. And like I said, I didn't think AA was going to work for me. I wasn't going to work the steps. I wasn't going to talk to anyone after the meeting. I'm like pretty like fear of people, that promise that like fear of people will leave us. That's like a big deal to me. I still like definitely or like feelings of unworthiness even in sobriety, but I know I like recognize those and I can walk through them. But I was just not gonna connect with anyone. And there was like this whole mix of people in the meeting, like a lot of older people and some people kind of my age. But I think the topic was hitting bottom, which is kind of a cool topic. And I heard people say, I hit bottom at 35, and someone said I hit bottom at 40, and I was 25 at the time, so I was like, good, I have time. I won't hit this terrible bottom. I won't hit it for, another decade or so, and maybe I can keep drinking, and maybe it can still look good, because like, how can I live without this thing? And what happened was, at the end of the meeting, it I I had the option to like dart out the door, and I knew if I did that I would go to the liquor store, and I knew that I had no choice. Um, and even though that had been my plan going into the meeting, it was such a sad, terrible thing at the end of it. And so I can't remember if I walked up to the secretary or he walked up to me, but he was like, "Do you think you have a problem with alcohol?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And he was like, "Do you want to stop?" And I was like, "I think so. Like, I don't, like, sure." Oh, actually, no, my answer was like, "Sure." Like, "Do you want $1 million?" Like, "Yes, of course I do." That kind of thing. And he gave me some literature. And then I ended up talking to some people at the end of the meeting. And they decided like we were going to go fellowship across the street at this cheesesteak place. And so I joined them, even though I wasn't going to talk to anyone and I was going to run out. And they asked me why I was there, and I told them pretty much like I can't see myself going home tonight without going to a liquor store first. Like, but I don't think I'm ready to stop, was basically what I shared with them. And that when that came out, that was my secret. That was the thing no one in my life knew, that this like big thing that I didn't have an answer for. I love having the answer to things, love fixing things, not really successfully all the time, but like think I can. And I just didn't have a solution. And I shared that with them. That was like a rare vulnerability for me, basically. And their response was, yeah, that's how it was for me too. That's what my drinking looked like. Yeah, that sounds about right. And they told me things like, if you have a hard time not drinking between meetings, go to more meetings. And living in the Bay in California, there are like hundreds of meetings every week here, which is insane. Like, I've been places. I was born in Bulgaria, and I traveled there in my cup variety. And there's like, they actually recently added their first English speaking meeting ever, so that's a trip, and I'm really excited to check it out. But for a while there was like one meeting in that country a day. But anyway, yeah, so they told me to do that. They said, if you want to drink, think about, play the tape, think about, okay, what happens next, what usually happens. And it was the same thing for me every single night, like blacking out, throwing up, the end. That was it. And like probably doing something embarrassing on social media. I had to check out the next day. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I had some hope, and a fellow drove me home, and then I didn't go to a liquor store that night. I had 30 minutes before the liquor store closed, and I thought about that as I was in bed, and but I didn't go. And I had the shakes and the sweats and all the stuff. And then I went to a meeting the next morning. I went to another meeting that night where I met other women my age in AA, and they were really nice to me. And they told me about ACIPA, the All California Conference of Young People in AA, and they wanted me to go. And it was like 26 days away from my day one. And I realized like if I stayed sober, like I could go to this conference with these people who seemed to like kind of like accept me, even though they didn't really know me. It was like this openness. It was new to me, and it felt really, really good. Also, hugging people felt really good. I hadn't done that in a while. Um, so I started going to more meetings, and I got a sponsor who was someone I met at my first meeting. It was the person who told me to play the tape. And I started working with them that weekend on the first step and doing homework, and just, getting to continue being honest about these things I was really ashamed of. And like just like throughout my sobriety and AA, like there's just been nothing that's really shocked anyone. And there's nothing, like I sponsor women now, there's nothing they have told me that has been like, oh my gosh, you're such a bad person. And that's just like, I don't know, it's a privilege to get to be here. It's like crazy to get to help people in this program, or like show up for them at least, and like ask God to help them through me. So yeah, I worked the steps with that sponsor. Like I said, I started sponsoring other women, and it's been a little over 2.5 years. I still do the same things. I go to meetings and I do service, and if I feel really resentful, I write it down. I do an inventory and I ask for the next right thought or action around it. Um, and there's been amazing stuff in sobriety. I've graduated from a master's program in nonfiction writing that I was going to quit when I was drinking, and I started it when I was drinking, and I missed my orientation because I was drunk on a bus in downtown Baltimore, and got to make it through that. I've had these beautiful relationships in sobriety, and I get to be a part of a community. Like I'm not constantly trying to leave or saying fuck you or like not showing up because I don't feel like it. It's like I don't know, I get to grow up a little bit. And earlier this year, I spent my 2-year sobriety birthday in small claims court. My former roommate took me to court. I had been drinking at the beginning of our roommate relationship and sort of continued a lot of behaviors that just really weren't working, basically like avoiding any issues we had completely. And that ended up with us in court. And I got to like do a ton of inventories around that. And I'm on the 9th step again now, and she's on my list, and I'm totally willing to go to her. And I imagine I'll actually do that pretty soon. And like that's cool because I know I'm in the right place. I know I'm sober for a reason, and I can take these, I can take these actions even if they're a little bit late, and like try to make things right. At the very least, like forgive someone, and I get to benefit from that freedom. And yeah, so I think, if there's anything else, I continue to be really grateful for this program, and I hope I stay that way. And I hope to keep coming back, and thank you all for being here. Thanks for having me speak.
Thank you, Elle.